seconds using our Deck soap. 4. Cover your nose and mouth with a disposable tissue or flex elbow when you cough or sneeze. Choose Deck soap for that extra cleanliness. Deck soap is affordable and available nationwide.
It is 13 hours 37 in Guyana, and it is time for COVID-19 and election SWAT with senior journalist of Kaiju News, Mr. Leonard Gildarie, alongside his co-host, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Yes, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I think my technicians down in the studio here is giving me the wrong mic. It is a sign of things to happen this week here. So I want to say to you, everybody across this beautiful land of ours, a good day. It's been a long weekend, so many things to do. I did a lot of things, and I hope that everybody would be having a wonderful week, an energized week, and that we'll have some changes, some good news after three, almost 4 long months. It's been more than a year. While I'm waiting on Dr. Yog Mahadeo to get himself right there, I want to say just 1 second. We having some echoing. Could we bring it on a little? Thank you very much. So it's June the 29th, 2020. In a few days, it's going to be 4 months since the March 2nd elections. That makes it 119 days today since elections. We keep reminding you of that because the days are ticking by. Days that we should have been productive, that we should have been moving in a forward direction to get things done for this beautiful land of ours. And there are many things to talk about. We're going to tell you, first of all, that COVID-19 is no more, that there's been a lifting of the curfew and everything is back to normal. We're going to open the airports in a few days. And we're going to tell you why we're saying that at Kaicher News. We are also going to tell you about the headlines in Kaicher News today, major headlines. This is Harmon, and he's the head of the task force, former Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, in a radio statement interview in Linden yesterday, would have said that President Granger will not concede. So we're going to bring you stories about that. There's a major development that has happened today, something that has my heart very heavy. Deeply worried today, and I want to talk about that. I haven't spoken to really about to my co-host, Dr. Yog Mahadeo, but I would want to tell him that I am going to take the decision today to talk about it because in our country sometimes we can't hide things, we can't put it on the back burner. We have to talk about it, we have to find solutions, and let the world understand this is not 20 years back, this is a different time. Tomorrow is going to be a key case, Guyana versus Venezuela. That is over the border issue. That's going to be at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. And so they're going to be talking, the court is going to be deciding whether it has jurisdiction to hear that case, which involves Venezuela making a claim for a large part of Guyana, including a large swath of lands and rivers, waters, including the waters where we have now started producing oil. Venezuela wants all of that, and so we want that matter settled. The coalition would have filed the case in the International Court of Justice to have this matter settled once and for all. So the court is going to start the proceedings, or rather get into the meat of things, where they're going to decide, first of all, whether they have jurisdiction to hear this matter. So it all starts tomorrow. They were in preparation for that. So it gets down to serious business tomorrow. On Wednesday, we're going to come to elections 2020. The Caribbean Court of Justice is going to be hearing oral arguments in the case which the People's Progressive Party has filed a submission. But before we get into that, I want to address an issue which has come to my attention, and I am going to be raising it with management. And Yog, forgive me, my brother, I want to say welcome to you. I'm a little long-winded today. I understand that you are not at home, that you're elsewhere today, and I want to ask your forgiveness because I haven't spoken to you what I'm about to say. Over the weekend, Dr. Yog Mahadeo and myself, who has been on elections watch for almost 4 months now, we have been saying it as it is. We don't have a political party that we back in. We can't have a political party, at least myself, Kaicho News, Kaicho Radio. Dr. Yog Mahadeo has been very outspoken. Ourselves have been calling it as it is, reporting the news, bringing you the developments. What we're hearing right now, Yog, maybe I would tell the people that you have received some threats over the weekend, so maybe you would want to tell us that, or maybe not tell us that, and let's take it from there.
Oh, well, it goes with some of the things we are doing. Yes, the threats seems to have continued, and some of it has gotten quite worrying. So, you got to do what you got to do because, of course, family comes first. The good thing is technology makes us operate from wherever we are, and we will continue to do what I believe, Leonard, is our duty. I mean, we cannot have Kaiser News, the entire outfit there, and Kaiser Radio, the entire team, and the owner Glenn Lal and himself, and everybody putting things together to ensure that we ventilate and spread and air what is the truth. So nothing will stop us from doing what we got to do. I would like to ask everyone out there, be very careful and be cognizant of where you are and what you say, because there are people out there that are looking on. And especially, Leonard, there are people who amazingly are making blatant threats to others. And so, put it this way, we cannot stop doing what we have to do. We have to continue doing what we got to do, and nothing will stop us. That's the beauty of technology. And it's a pity that technology itself is under threat in Guyana, but we'll work with what we have.
Yog, it is a very serious issue. You would have known years back, Kaiser News would have paid the ultimate price. So we had 5 pressmen executed in our printery. Moving forward, we would have had gunmen in our place at Saffron Street here. And we have seen many, how you say it, attacks on Kaiser News over the years when we would have been investigating the People's Progressive Party, when we would have been reporting on the coalition. We take it par for the course that these things comes with the territory. However, we cannot stand by and allow our people to be threatened and not do anything to it. And you're right, technology allows us to do a couple of things. So if a phone call is made, or things or threats are being issued against people who we hold very dear, the protection of the media, the freedom of the media is something that is very fundamental towards this country's progress towards becoming a first world country. When you hear threats, when you hear killings, you're talking about some other country where there is very little control, maybe drugs and things like that would have been leading to that. So when you hear that happening in this beautiful country of ours, it is time to sit up and take notice. We're not going to stand by. I am going to raise this issue here with management, with Mr. Glendale and others, so we could probably take it, because when one of ours is being threatened, especially around a time like this, it is something that we're not going to sit by and take it very idly. We believe that we have the freedom to express. It's something that has been fought for over the years. It is something that we take it for granted, as is given to us in the Constitution. But we're going to come back a little and talk about that. Yog, you have our support, my brother, because you're part of the Kaichor family. But not only that, too, you become a fixture in the media world when it comes to talking about the protection of the people of Guyana. So that makes it even dearer to us. So we head straight to the newspaper of today, or let's go to yesterday, Sunday edition, and this is the June the 28th edition. Mr. Lowenfield, actions are treasonous. This is the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce head issuing a letter statement to the Chief Elections Officer, Keith Lowenfield, actions are treasonous. and they would have made a case there why they believe so. There is the main headline in yesterday's newspaper here. Washington lawsuit reveals ExxonMobil hired a scientist to spread confusion, doubt after learning about climate change. Very, very serious thing. There's a cover-up, although knowing that the practices of these oil companies would lead to some effects on the climate or making it worse that would lead to hurricanes and other things that are as a result of climate change. Boy 14, and this one broke our heart on Saturday, Yog, after we learned about it. Boy 14, mom and dad dies in blaze. This is at Commons Lodge. They were found clinging to each other, the remains, and this is so heartbreaking. In a place that had grills, they couldn't get out, and the families were hearing the screams as they could do nothing. The neighbors were hearing, they wanted to get in, but they couldn't get in because of the flames. When the firemen would have cleared the debris, they would have found the bodies, the mom, the dad, and the little kid very close together. In the dying moments, they would have been trying to comfort each other, to protect each other. Very, very heartbreaking. And the story that's coming out now, so they have somebody in custody. They're working on the theory that maybe he would have taken, but it's all allegedly. He is a suspect until they prove otherwise. Very, very heartbreaking. We're going to be following that story. This is the worst case scenario. U.S. could freeze Guyana's oil fund, and this is a U.S. political consultant. We've been hearing the lines of sanctions coming to the people of Guyana, to the politicians, etc. If we don't follow the rule of law, if declarations are not made in keeping with what is believed to be the regulation, to the laws of Guyana. And so Jack Deo puts all traders on notice, says sanctions loom for engaging illegal government. They would have put out a list of companies that they're shortlisting for the marketing of Guyana's crude oil. And so Jack Deo is saying that some of those people, well, the report came out that a number of those companies have questionable backgrounds, and he is saying don't do anything now. We're in transition phase until a new government is sworn in. Don't sign anything. Today's newspaper, it's June the 29th, 2020. Washington lawsuit reveals ExxonMobil admits climate change exists but continue to lie about its efforts to address the phenomenon. So we move on. Harman says Granger will not concede, and Yog, we could probably talk about that in a little while because there is an ongoing court case at the CCJ. The CCJ warned that nothing should be done to derail the process, allow it to go through. Do not do anything. So Granger yet to comment. We understand that this evening he is going to be going on another radio station. I think it's Ben's Cop, to talk about that. This is the third time he is going to be appearing there. He has not accepted any invitation from Kaito Radio to come on. We would still love to talk to Mr. Granger, President Granger, to bring us his perspective on things, and that invitation remains as per the instruction of management to continue engaging with the Ministry of the Presidency to see whether we could still get him, and so we wait on that. So St. Vincent's PM Gonzalez to assume CARICOM chairmanship on Wednesday. Your interesting thing, you remember Ralph Gonzalez a few weeks back came under severe criticisms by this government, and so he's going to become CARICOM chair. The fact is, CARICOM has its headquarters in Guyana, so that is going to be a very ticklish situation. How does CARICOM, it's on charted waters, how does CARICOM deal with the whole issue of Guyana and that fact that its headquarters is here, and they've been increasingly vocal. In fact, they were one of the observers team that was here, and they came and they oversaw also the recount exercise, national recount, 33 days long. Cops break up 4 a.m. bike and horse races on Homestretch Avenue. Over 100 to be charged for breaching COVID-19 curfew. This is something I want to address, Yoga, because there's a major development. COVID-19 I think the curfew has been lifted, and we're going to come back and talk to the people of Guyana why we say that, and why everything is so stupid. I would use that word to describe our actions with regard to COVID-19, at least on some fronts when it comes to enforcement. Harman contradicts Lowenfield Coalition in CCJ filing, says that the Court of Appeal did not give direction to define valid votes. Interesting headline. We're going to come back to that. So, Yog, we have a couple of things that we want to discuss today. Let's get right into it. We come to our front page here. Harman says Granger will not concede. Have you had a look at that, or what's the implications of that?
Well, I would like to put it the following way, Leonard. It seems like Harman has been muzzling Mr. Granger, because Granger doesn't have his own freedom to speak. Harman speaks for him, and then Granger comes out 2 days later and says, "Oh yeah, whatever he says, I endorse." So that seems to be the thing. If you don't mind, I want to go back to what you said earlier. I know Kaiser News, as all media houses, remain very open to invite Mr. Granger or any one of the riggers to discuss, whatever they have to say. I have had such an outreach to me earlier today. Somebody wanted to say they want to come on room 592 to discuss something. And Leonard, my response has been to discuss what? What else can they say now other than to perpetuate and repeat more and more lies continuously? They're just now repeating their lies so much that they're believing it themselves. So my introspection guides me to say, well, how can I bring on somebody that is just going to repeat lies and lies and lies? And everybody, they fail to realize we are a thinking population. They fail to realize we are people that can see things and think. Case in point, Leonard, last week, some of the APNU people, they went out there and they were sharing out pamphlets. Mind you, these people did not go with a hamper or two to share out. They did not go with food stuff to share out. They did not even take masks out there to share out to people. Indeed, what they went with was pamphlets. And Leonard, they seriously have a problem with maths, because if you take the numbers in the pamphlet, it doesn't add up. It's ridiculous how much their intention is to fool people out there. So much lies, and so repetitive are the lies, that it boggles the mind. How can they even have it's barefaced, old people just call it now, to come out publicly and say anything anymore? And finally, I'll tell you this. Look, every time a religious organization or every time somebody comes out and says something now, you have some one-man organizations that would attack and attack viciously. And that's the kind of democracy that we are heading into, where as soon as people voice their opinion or disagree with this cabal, then you're attacked and attacked viciously. So, Leonard, I mean, we'll discuss the court matter, the CCJ matter, when you're ready. But in my opening thing, I would like to say that I seriously doubt. I mean, Granger know why he's going where he's going to do an interview. God bless him, and he should keep doing that.
I thank you. I thank you very much for that, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. It is elections, COVID-19 watch, many things to discuss. We'd want to open the lines as early as possible, but let's get through the important ones first. There is a photograph that surfaced last evening, and if you look at the Kaiser News front page too, Cubs break up 4 a.m. bike and horse race on Homestretch Avenue. And I want to say that not too long ago, I came, and every day increasingly, I believe that the city, Region 4, it is business as usual. There's no curfew, there's nothing going on that would suggest that we have COVID-19 measures. The only thing that I seem to understand is that the police seems to be cracking down on some Regent Street businesses, ensuring or insisting that they close. Right across the country, I came out of home yesterday, went down on the East Bank, and everybody's open. Clothing store, butcher shop, beer gardens, everybody's open. There was long lines of cars. Last evening, the seawall right across a few hundred stone throw away from the police headquarters. Yogi, listening there? The police headquarters is located, and the seawall
Wow.
was filled with people. There were cars open, music blaring, barbecue in full swing. What are we doing? As we speak here now, about an hour or two back in Mabaruma, a doctor's place where they've been staying, they're treating COVID 19, it went up in flames. I'm just bringing this to you so you understand how complex, how ridiculous the situation is. It went up in flames. They were renting it. The COVID doctors are without maybe the belongings. I understand some Cuban doctors. Mabruma, Region 1. Region 1 has an outbreak now, especially in the Santa Rosa area, that we have about six or something cases, I understand, has been tested positive. Doctors, healthcare workers, teachers, I understand, are involved there, and they don't have space, and they're being told to be kept at home. Yesterday's newspaper, Kaitra News, the airport is standing by, ready to open the airport. There's a CGIA in a phased opening. I'm not sure where we headed with that, because if you can't bring down your cases, what are you opening? This morning, a team of experts, health officials, and others would have visited Ocean View. Yog, regardless how we like it or not, we have to live with the Ocean View. They can't stop it. If this new government goes in there, or if Air Finale goes in there, or if the coalition remains, regardless, they have to move towards opening that Ocean View as quickly as possible. The reason is because I have information that's coming out now that the number of cases, we're not going to be out of this for another year at least. The number of cases have been increasing because we've been very cavalier in our attitude, not only from an enforcement point of view, but our citizens themselves are just crazy. They're not paying attention. They don't care anymore. Nobody's telling them what to do, so they have lost interest, and so they're going about the business as usual. This thing is serious. You just got to talk to the doctors in the hospital. They can tell you how frightening it is. Every time couple doctors or nurses go out there and they come in contact with somebody who's positive, they are being quarantined as well. So where are you going to find the healthcare workers? So we have a crisis in terms of the shortage of persons now to also deal with cases. And so while we have not had death in weeks, the fact is the number of cases have been increasing, and especially in the border areas. These are areas that we have to pay attention to. So in the meantime, right along that, our citizens, there was traffic jam on the East Bank around 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, traffic jam on the East Bank. Why? Because everybody's going about doing the things. In the first couple of days, when they had announced the measures, the COVID-19 measures about not going to work and ensuring that only essential businesses are open, people were not coming. So where are they going? What are they doing? Where are they headed to? So these are some of the questions. So that's why I'm saying that the COVID-19, the measures, the enforcement has been lifted. You see police on the road now doing normal traffic control, meaning that they're stopping vehicle. Do you have your license? Do you have your thing? So they're going about the business, hustling, passing as normal, Yog.
Hmm.
So,
Well, Leonard,
go ahead.
I would certainly, I want to disagree with you, my friend. I certainly hope that when a new government is sworn in, that a proper feasibility study is done for the Ocean View. We cannot throw good money behind bad money. That's one. Two, that doesn't mean to say that we should, water down the effects of COVID. But COVID is where it is because of bad management, poor systems, poor planning, poor strategies. You name it, they have done it badly and incorrectly. How much can we say? Look, 3 weeks ago, they receive a donation of 4,000 kits. As yet, baseline testing cannot be done across this country to know what areas are. Now, let's talk about border. We know that the border areas are our highest risk, our highest areas of concern. Leonard, a month ago, you and I spoke to two gentlemen, one from the Lethem end and one from, I believe, Mabaruma end or somewhere like that. And both of them were calling for help. They were saying our borders are porous, we have a huge risk, and nothing, Leonard, nothing has been done. The people who Granger appointed to run the COVID task force, Joe Harmon, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Harmon is the CEO of the COVID task force. He is spending all his time trying to deceive people about these elections. He is spending all of his time earning taxpayers' money and doing nothing for the country. Every moment of their time they're spending on an APNU AFC agenda, nothing for this country, Leonard. Look, we know for 2-3 months, 100 and what days now, we are talking. Exxon, the oil keep pumping, the gas keeps burning. COVID, people continue to die. People continue to get sick. Nothing has been done. The cavalier attitude of this government alone. Look, if you have to run an election now, would they get any seat? Much less what they're trying to do presently. The truth is, Leonard, the government from David Granger right down to the handful of people that they got presently, all they're engaged, they're focused on is to create lies and ensure that they beat everybody over the head with their lies until they believe it themselves. They don't care if you believe it, because the people of this country, seems like our view doesn't matter. As long as they believe their lie, that's all that matters. So I would beg to differ. For that Ocean View project to continue, a proper feasibility study need to be done. Don't throw good money after bad money. Where the health matter is concerned, look, they have to get a professional set of people and get a strategic plan drafted out and go across this country. Leonard, you remember 3 months ago, we were supposed to have testing centers all across the country. We're supposed to have small units where people with COVID can go and they can have isolation and quarantine if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing has happened because all they're doing is fortifying their positions. That's all they're doing. But Leonard, it's impossible for any government to want to tell the people to spend $3 billion, which is what will be the total cost of Ocean View. It's impossible to tell us we got to swallow that.
Mm-hmm. So we go to the COVID stats right now, Guyana. 230 cases confirmed since we started testing early this year. 109 recovered, 12 deaths. The U.S. has been leading the way. 2.59 million cases confirmed, 789,000 recovered, 128,000 deaths. Brazil, 1.35 million cases confirmed, 716,000 persons recovered, 57,000, almost 58,000 deaths. And of course, following them would be Russia. And Brazil is right next to us. So you're right. Now, let us look to tomorrow court case. But that's before the CCI, International Court of Justice in The Hague. We have discussed and we have been raising the point, and of course this is one of the fears of many, including the experts, that if we don't show, I think it is Sartri that Ramphal, who's also one of the advisors on this case, would have also expressed his concerns over whether we are not showing Venezuela that we have a very weak hand that we're holding in this card game of ours between us and Venezuela. That we have a very weak hand going forward because our political situation can be resolved 120 days. And just a couple of days, it's going to be 4 months since that elections. How bad is the situation in terms of showing a unified front coming or going to that court case?
Leonard, one would have, maybe we need to call on Dave Martins, who sang that song, decades ago, to probably take his see if he could come up with some of the older music group. This is years now we are saying how important our border with Venezuela is, and we probably need to go and stand up on the roadside in front of the residence of the president and maybe sing to remind him not to blade of grass. This thing is very important. But what's been happening, you're right. Search Free That is right. A government, well, a group of persons that is illegally occupying office is so focused on retaining power at all cost. They are not seeing what is happening. They're paying no heed, as we said earlier, to COVID or any other things that's happening. But meanwhile, this Venezuela case is in front of the International Court. Yes, we have already employed lawyers, and we had that in train for many, many years, and they will be taking care of it. But Sir Sridhar's point is that if you have an enemy and an enemy see that you are at your weakest point, that's when they will infiltrate. That's when they're going to do. And you know what? I see it happening. I've seen it. We have all seen it. Wasn't it 2 weeks ago, Leonard, that Venezuela made a public statement to say, we would like to have a sit-down talk. We would like to have a negotiation. We'd like to talk about this matter. That is clear indication that Venezuela knows how weak Guyana is, because who will go and talk? The politicians of the APNU AFC are so busy rigging this election, doing a slow coup of taking over this country, that they are not focused on the border issue. So who will go and talk to Venezuela if you have to have discussions about the matter? This thing is critical. It is something very important. And don't forget, Leonard, when you're talking about the borders with Venezuela, now is when you still need CARICOM to back you. You still need the hemisphere to back you. You still need Commonwealth to back you. You need Britain. You need everybody to back you, because guess what? Guyana's border with Venezuela is an old treaty, an old agreement that had Britain and other countries involved at that time. Remember, we were then owned, these countries would have been under colonial rule. And so those people, now if this government is saying, oh, stay out, we don't want anybody to interfere with us, we don't want to hear from you, your opinion of us mustn't matter, then who's going to represent and talk for us?
Absolutely. So I want to say hello to Grove, Diamond, Eccles, the Zoom folks, the Lato folks there. You know who I'm talking about. They have been following us very, very closely. Of course, right across Berbice, we have some folks there, or past we have some people whenever our antenna go down in Berbice, we have people standing by to make sure that it goes back very, very quickly. Because, we run on power. So I want to say good day to the people down at Nick there, to the Hampshire people. Of course, right across, we head across to Region 2, Pomeroon. How are you doing there? And overseas, New York, Canada, Europe, right across South America here. We have so many people logged on to us, tuned in to us. I want to say hello to those people. It's a very, very serious day. My heart is a little heavy hearing that my brother Yog was subjected to a very serious threat over the weekend, and he's taken steps to protect his family. I will be bringing management into play here, because I take it very, very seriously too when one of our own comes under attack for his fundamental rights of saying to the people of Guyana, or for speaking out. And he is doing something which is natural to him, like it's something that is natural to me. Take it very, very seriously. And you, the people of Guyana, should take it very seriously too when one of your fundamental rights is being taken away. So we had Wednesday Yog. We understand this morning or over the weekend that the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission, Justice Retired Claudette Singh, would have indicated that she's making no submissions. Her submission still stands for the Court of Appeal. So what we're talking about here, there is a court, there's a case that is before the Caribbean Court of Justice, the majority decision of the Court of Appeal in Guyana, and you would have had to make submissions. The Guyana Elections Commission Chair, Justice Singh, would have indicated through a lawyer, Kim Kite, I think it is, that she's not going to put any fresh submissions or arguments or submissions for the Court of Appeal still stands. Could you give us a little, Yog, as to how you see this and what exactly is to play out in the next 2 days?
Sure. Sure, Leonard. And I'm glad that we're discussing this because I've seen a lot of concerns being expressed about this CCJ matter, and I've seen a lot of hype also about the CCJ matter. Leonard, in my own view and in the view of many others, this CCJ matter, it is important, but it is not critical to the declaration of these elections. I'll tell you why. Remember, the Court of Appeal ruled that more votes in Article 177 means more valid votes. Now, the lawyers, Senior Counsel Mendez, for example, and Anil Nandlal and them all, the lawyers are arguing that that should have been so anyhow. The votes that the Constitution or the election laws are talking about can only mean valid votes. It cannot mean anything else. Only valid votes can count in any election. So all the nonsense about valid and but the truth is the Court of Appeals decision that was made last week, neither did it impact the valid votes that were counted during these recount, nor did it give Lowenfield the authority to come up with a brand new definition of what is valid. And that's what we need to get very, very clear. Neither did the Court of Appeal disenfranchise anyone in this country, nor did it give Lowenfield the authority to rewrite the dictionary and to say what valid means or what it doesn't mean. So that needs to be very clear, and GCOM knows that. Leonard, I would want to hold up in front of me all the time the press release that the chairman of GCOM made before the Court of Appeals decision. That holds solid and holds strong. Significantly, let me repeat, significantly, the Court of Appeal did not order, nor did it authorize Lowenfield in any way to throw away, to burn 115,000 votes. Lowenfield does not have an authority on the law. Lowenfield, who is a statutory officer, said, I'm a constitutional officer, and that is not so. He's a statutory officer. And what makes my point even greater is Harman's attorney to the CCJ is saying the same thing. Harman's attorney, I think Amor, or what's his name, would have written, and I'm reading to you, the Court of Appeal made no determination as to whether the votes cast were valid or not, imposed no criteria by which validity of votes will be determined. So, Leonard, this thing about ACNU AFC failing math, one could see that after burning $70 billion in our deposits from the Bank of Guyana, they burned they abused, misused, you name it. Today, the central deposits at the Bank of Guyana is in a shortfall of $70 billion. Well, guess what? They don't know math, they don't know numbers, obviously with the 33/35, and they certainly do not know English, because these things are very clear. Leonard, in conclusion, I'll say this. Whether the CCJ make a decision, whatever way they make a decision, Guyanese have to realize it does not change what is in the Constitution, what valid means, and valid for everybody's sake means the votes that were not taken out by the recount process to say these were invalid. GCOM staff themselves, Lowenfield's own staff signed off those statement of recounts. So he cannot now burn those 115,000 votes because he feels he's in the mood to do it. That is not his role, and certainly no law gives him that right.
Well, he's issued a statement, didn't he, that he is not obligated to listen to anybody except that he has a constitutional duty?
He doesn't. He has a statutory, his role is a statutory role. That's one. Two, he has a duty to follow the law, not to interpret it how he wants. He's a soldier. He needs to follow instructions of his boss, right? The man is a major from the army. He's now chief elections officer of GCOM. He needs to be guided, and if he wish to have the court guide him on how to translate Section 170, interpret 177, I'm sure the courts would be willing to do that. He can appeal to the court, he can appeal to anyone to tell him and relate to him what does that valid mean or what does votes mean. But he cannot take it upon himself, Leonard, to burn 115,000 votes. You're right, he made a statement that is implicating himself, because he said he's complying with the law. When did he? He produced 4 reports. Which one of the 4 reports complied with the law? None.
So I want to say hello to Tilton, New Zealand. Somebody from next to the land of Dong Under there saying hello. So hello to you. Thank you for joining us. And Yog, many persons are wondering what happened to room 592 over the weekend. And I know that you were very busy over the weekend doing your other stuff, because we have other stuff to do too. We've been trying in our little own ways to assist our people of Guyana. So we are going to be back this evening. What is it very quickly that we should look out for in room 592?
Well, tonight, we want to look at some of the implications of what the government is deciding, and maybe as we go later into the discussions here today, we'll get into what those are. But I want to tell people there are some moves, strategic moves that are being made by the current squatter government that we're all worried about, and we want to have an open discussion with that. Tomorrow night, given that the CCJ decision is impending, hopefully we can get this same discussion. What if the decision go this way? What if it goes that way? But I'm telling you, I certainly believe it. CCJ's decision does not matter. I think Mr. Nandlal had said it earlier well, that what they want is to correct this notion of the Court of Appeal that says the Court of Appeal's decision implied that one could have a petition that can throw away or question the entire National Assembly but still keep the president. Burnham must be turning in his grave today to see how the Court of Appeal would have interpreted one of the old clauses in the Constitution. But Leonard, that Court of CCJ's case will be well placed to correct or to apply whatever further thinking we can apply to the Court of Appeal decision, but it does not change what has to come out from the Elections Commission. What it does do in a negative sense, very negative sense, is to again delay the impending declaration that has already gone past 110 days.
Absolutely. And so if you missed it, Harmon says Granger will not concede. This is during a radio program yesterday in Linden. Granger did not issue a comment on that because he would have said in the past that he will go according to the declarations made by the Guyana Elections Commission. So we are following that story very, very closely. Harmon contradicts Lowenfield. Coalition in CCJ filing says that the Court of Appeal did not give direction to define valid votes. So we are going to continue to follow that story, those stories, very, very closely. Yog,
Leonard,
I think, yes.
If I may,
Sure.
Look, you recall, viewers and listeners would recall a couple of weeks back, Commissioner Vincent Alexander was in room 592. And you recall he made that statement that Gokul Budu had, in his view as a commissioner, Gokul Budu had misapplied the protocols and the instructions and the regulations and was going to make a false declaration. And you remember Vincent Alexander said that he was the one that corrected Gokul Budu and thus stopped a false declaration. You remember that discussion, Leonard?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Well, guess what? Now it's the same commissioners and is another election, chief elections officer now saying differently. Now it seems like Lowenfield says, well, the commission cannot correct him. The commission cannot tell him anything. How come the commission had corrected Gokul Budu, but you cannot correct this one? So the ridiculous arguments we are hearing coming out every day, it's so like, I hate to say this, but I have a little son, and my little son would tell me something now because he wants some M&Ms or something, and I would ask him a question, and he would forget what he told me 2 minutes ago, and he would tell me something now, or something a minute later, to get more and to get more. So they forget what they're saying themselves, and they're tripping over their own lies. They're tripping over their own lies. But the good thing is, we have recordings, we have history does not lie, and people are remembering. People are remembering, Leonard. So my final thing here on this point is, how come Gokul Budu, the former CEO, could have been corrected and stopped in his tracks by the commission, but now we are saying this one cannot be stopped? Something has to be wrong.
Yes, and thank you very much for that, Yog. Elections COVID-19 Watch. You could get us on Kaito Radio, on Facebook, on YouTube, also Kaito News Online. Click the icon and you're going to get us there. So in a very short while, we're going to head to the phone lines. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what is happening, which rum shop has been opened in your area. What do you think the way forward for our country is right now? What should be our next state of play? How are you being affected by COVID-19? We want to hear from you, from our people, and we have somebody join us as far as Ireland, Yog. So 226-7453, 226-7453. You could also send us your text, WhatsApp, and otherwise 622-222, 622-222, or you could call us on 226-7453. Yog, anything before we go to the phone lines? Anything else
Well,
you want
Leonard,
to mention?
as you know, over the past week, 2 weeks, Ralph Gonzalez spoke out. We have seen the attack on Ralph Gonzalez. Maya Motley spoke out. We have seen the attack on Maya Motley. Everybody that speaks out. The entire CARICOM is now told. In fact, persons who are employed, let me repeat this, persons who are employed and paid taxpayers' money are using their employment hours to go and stand up in front of CARICOM and protest, right? These people are being paid by your money as taxpayers, and they're using that work time to go and protest. Now, Leonard, how many Guyanese are living in the CARICOM countries? Think about it. Many countries across the Caribbean. Suppose CARICOM say, okay, all of y'all go home because Guyana doesn't want to do anything with us. This free movement of people and free movement across the CARICOM has to stop. Okay, Guyana don't want to have anything to do with us. To all the Guyanese that's living overseas and living in CARICOM countries, this is what APNU AFC is presently doing to you. They're basically telling all the CARICOM countries to round everybody up and send them back to Guyana because they don't want to hear anything. They don't want to have anything to do with the CARICOM countries. And mind you, people in this government, not necessarily in the active government, they have worked their entire lives at CARICOM. They have worked with foreign service. They have worked in various areas. And now they're quiet when their own leaders are bringing shame to this country by disputing CARICOM.
Yes, and I thank you for that, Yog. So I think there's a phone call there. There's a line. Yes. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hello, good afternoon.
Could you lower your volume on your radio, please?
Good afternoon, Gail and Doctor.
Yes.
I will be calling on the incoming President, Dr. Irfan Ali. As soon as he took up reins of the government, the presidency in Guyana, I would like him to produce tight security for Gildarie and Dr. Yog Mahadeo, because the two of y'all is two fighters. And we all are standing by your side. You stand for the truth, and when you speak the truth, you are being victimized. But we know where it's coming from. So we are with you, and we will be calling on the incoming president to make certain that the two of you all have tight security. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to say this to the people. I think Glenn once told me, this is Glenn Lal, the publisher of Kaichur News, and maybe I could share it. He says that he has a very a clear concept of life, that when you come into this world you had no control over that. When you leave in, you have no control. You could be driving along the road or you're a passenger and there's an accident and you don't control that. So if you understand that you don't control when you come and when you go, therefore no man has a right to take away. That was ordained. That is how it's supposed to be. So I guess, they could do whatever it is. We have our duty, we have our mandate. Of course, we're not stupid and we're not going to take unnecessary chances. But I do thank you for that. Yog?
Yep, and thanks for the comment. I think the bigger picture here, Leonard, is let's put our country first. We're all going to go through some bit of disappointment, and we are all going to go through some tough times. But we have to get this country on its right footing. The country is keeling over presently, and brothers and sisters all across the country, if you have never spoken out, it is time you start, because the time will come if a dictatorship is created, if a certain persons decide that they are going to take the reins of power regardless of what the courts say, regardless of what the recount results are, and they say they want to hold out and hold on to power. Brothers and sisters, you all got to realize, we all have to realize, it's a country for everyone. It's a country where we all have to live and work together. And by and large, these dark days are going to be put behind us. We will, sooner or later, I hope sooner rather than later, get back to work and get on with our lives. But Leonard, to the point of COVID-19, you are right, and it's something that I think we also need to discuss, because the curfew, all the kind of things we had in place is gone. But you know why it's gone, Leonard? It's not because the government has lifted it. There is no government in place to impose these things. And I think that by and large, a lot of Guyanese have not heeded the protocols that ought to have been in place during these times, because they see it as political. Now, you and I have been begging people, stay home, stay apart from each other. Do take the precautions you have to protect yourself and your family. And people have been ignoring it because, Leonard, look at the politicians. Look at the ruling set of politicians, and you see they have no regard for anything. You see, people doing everything they can to just stay in power. So the rest of the population cannot go one way and the cabal goes another way. If the cabal is showing that they don't care about COVID and they don't care, they say that certain types of food starts to rot from the top, not from the tail. So you look at what's going on, and it tells you the lack of care, the lack of leadership. Well, of course, if you don't have leadership skills, you cannot lead. But the absolute lack of care and humanness from Mr. Granger and his crew is amazing. All they're doing every moment of the day is to think of what is the next convenient lie, and that's all it is.
Yes, I thank you for that, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Elections COVID-19 Watch. There's a call online. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Kaitor Radio?
Yes, it is. You're on air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. The word of God says there's a time will come when man will be lovers of their own self. And also the word of God says that people will see evil and call it good, and good evil. The whole world, seeing what Mr. Green is doing right now, is evil. And only he alone is saying to the world that is good. Brother, I tell you, the threat that you are getting, God will protect both of you. There's no higher security than God's security. Man can only destroy this body, but your soul belongs to God. I pray in the name of Jesus that God will protect Mr. Yoga and his family, also your whole place, in the name of Jesus. Brother, keep up the good work. The truth always hurts. Jesus says, speak the truth, and the truth will set you free. So don't be afraid of nobody on the face of this earth, brother. Keep it up, the good work. The work and the truth will prevail. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, dear sir. And Yog, as we move forward, we would go back to our fundamentals, which was in the beginning, and you did mention it a few moments there back. We may see other people doing some careless things. There is a protocol in place. There's health warnings. They have made it, they've gazetted it. Ensure that you protect your family. If you're going out there, if you're going in a minibus, if you're going to the supermarkets, if you got to take a little t-shirt and you wrap it around your face, you'd have to do something to ensure that you reduce any possibilities of catching COVID-19. It's not a pretty sight. It's not something that is easy. Imagine the authorities coming down and locking down your whole family for 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, because you have been testing positive, positive, positive all the time, and you have to test negative before they release you. So we will continue to urge that all citizens wash their hands, keep your place clean, reduce the number of persons coming by you. If you gotta go somewhere, try not to be in crowds. Do not gather in crowds. It's definitely a no-no to be having a horse race at 4 o'clock in the morning, bike and horse race. What are we doing to ourselves? But you're right, you give the people see illegalities, unlawful behavior coming from the ones in authorities. What do you expect them to do? But we could still continue to call, or the calls to our people, to ensure that they take the necessary precautions to protect themselves. It is our responsibility, it's our mandate as a responsible people in society to ensure that we do what is the correct thing. Do not follow the crowd. We would want to have this country open as quickly as possible, but our irresponsible behavior is what is going to prevent normalcy to resume. Yog?
Correct. And you are right, Leonard. We have to protect ourselves. Look, ladies and gentlemen all across this country, when you get sick, whether there is a functioning government or not, they cannot help you. The government will not help you breathe with a ventilator. The government, regardless whether we have the best of government in the world, when you fall sick, you are the ones that will struggle. You are the one that will punish. Take the precautions. Don't get sick. And how you don't get sick, it is very simple. Let us please, imagine, brothers and sisters, I say so very, very humbly. If all of us can stay away for 21 days totally from each other, within 6 feet of each other, wear our mask, wash our fingers, wash our hands for that 20 seconds with soap and water, you'd be amazed that we can bring this to a closure. We have the responsibility ourselves. We're only allowing these people to show how important they are for imposing upon us, When you don't observe these things yourself, you are just giving the politicians a chance to show off on you. They got to impose controls, and they got to impose this and impose that. Why give them that? Take the precautions. Men and women and children, take the precautions upon yourself and be serious about your own life and the lives of your children and your family members. I mean, Leonard, at the end of the day, it comes back to each and every one of us as responsible persons in our homes.
Yes, and I thank you for that, Yog. So let me tell you two things. We want to see some text coming in. We have two families that we want to help. Dr. Yog Mahadeo, myself, Kaicho Radio. Text us. Let us know your situation, where you're located, and we're gonna try to see what we could do for you here. But over the last couple of weeks, Yog, we've been talking about public assistance and what the authorities are doing. They put out a little notice here, and if you have a pen and a paper, folks, you could take down some numbers here. They have put out a notice, which is for the schedule and contact information for COVID-19 public assistance. Let me go back that. They put out a notice for the schedule and contact information for COVID-19 public assistance, Monday to Friday, between 12 to 5 p.m. Between 12 to 5 p.m., you could call the toll-free hotline number, and I could list it out for you very quickly. I'm going to ask my boys to probably try to put it up online there in a very short while. It's 615, these are the toll-free numbers, 615-9507, 615-9495, 615-9990, 615 7839, 665 2271, 615 9727, or 615 7829. And I'm going to ask our boys to put it up in a very short while. And from Monday to Friday, there's some other numbers that you could call, not toll-free number. They're going to charge you, normal landline charges or cell phone. 264 2690, 225 6202, 227 4410, 232 0952, 337 2667, or 223 1747, extension 2266 or 2267. We're going to put it up online on our page right here, so we could be able to, you could be able to copy it from there. So I'm sending it to my boys here, and they would put it up for you. So there's a caller online in the meantime. Good afternoon, caller, you're on the air. Good afternoon, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon to you.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to your partner.
You. Yes.
Right, I admire you guys' passion on this program, especially by the young. Very, very passionate man. I just want to make a comment and then ask a question. I observed through this whole debacle and all these programs, there's always been a statement that has been made pertaining to the recount. And that is all the agents and all the persons there agreed on the recount, agreed on the numbers, agreed on the, like in the statement from the curriculum chairman, she said that all the persons there agreed on the recount. But I don't think that is so accurate, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I found the recount out or something days. From day one, it's from, when you start from day one right to the end. And almost every day, the ACNUC agents complain about numbers. Whether right or wrong, I don't know. But I'm just from my observation, they are always complaining every day. And then when they had the statement of recount for the 10th district, they signed Region 1, right, after complaining, but then the remaining 9, they didn't sign it. So from my understanding, when I look at that, I don't think that maybe the numbers was produced, right? They can produce the number. I think they agreed on the number, so they didn't sign it. So I think it's inaccurate to say that everybody agreed. Maybe they can say all the persons except the ACNUC people agreed on this recount. I think that would be a more accurate statement. The next thing I want to say is that don't you guys believe that if you invite the ACNUC people, instead of beating up these people in their absence, invite these people on the program, and if you invite Leonard Gildarie, invite someone, if you invite Sanjay Gatadini, invite Arbin Arton, don't you think there will be a better debate and you will be able to confront them more, invite Harman and these people on the program, Basil Williams and these people? If you see, you are only just inviting one side and it beat up on the one side, but you're not hearing from the other side, except from the news and Facebook and all these.
You've been listening to this program since March the 2nd, sir?
Yeah, I listened to no.
And you would have known, you have to listen, because if you would have been listening, you would have heard us, Yog and myself, begging. In fact, we would have had people asking to come on when other people, we've asked both sides. We've begged, we've written the president, we've done everything in the books normally that it should be done. I'm not sure. If you would have been listening, you would have heard that.
All right. If you say so. Secondly, I just want to say that the President Granger has a following. And I think the more you have beat up on Mr. Granger, remember there hasn't been a declaration, you know. If declare the results and Granger doesn't want to come out, there is a different issue. But from the 2nd of March to now, GCOM has not made one declaration whether the PP win or whether the APNU win. There have never been a declaration. So to beat up on the president saying he doesn't want to come out and there hasn't been a declaration, I think is unfair. But Mr. Granger has a following. And the more you beat up on Mr. Granger, right, despite what people may think, he has a following. And there will be resentment. Every day you beat up on Mr. Granger, there will be more and more resentment. This is my contribution. Thanks.
Thank you very much, dear sir. Another side to it. Yog, I think the gentleman has a point. The one side of... But hold on. Yes, the call is off.
Oh.
Before you come on, there's two sides to every story. And the fact is, I would have gotten a very harsh awakening when I think it was Timothy Jonas standing in front of the Ashman's building, pointed the reporters to the crowd that was standing on the opposite side of the road. And he says those people across there are supporters of the coalition. And he says there's going to be supporters on the other side of the fence too, for the People's Progressive Party and for the other opposition parties. But he says one thing is very, very clear, is that they were told and they believe in their heart that they have won the elections. Over to you, Yog.
I'm sorry that we lost the call. I would have wanted to clarify something. Caller, if you're listening, I want to clarify something. Were you okay when Kaiser News and everybody else was beating up Donald Ramotar when he was president, even though Donald Ramotar had a lot of following? And were you okay when Kaiser News was decimating Barra Jagdeo and the Jagdeo government? And even though Jagdeo certainly has a lot of following in the country, if you were okay with that, it means that what we do know is that the truth is the truth. It doesn't matter if Mr. Granger has followings or not. But to address his 2 points specifically, Leonard, I respect the caller's question, and I like the ability that we can share this information.
Absolutely.
You dealt with a point about us inviting everybody to come on the programs. But caller, let me say this to you. Mr. Granger might have whatever following he thinks he has, and that is so. Everybody has their following, right? But, sir, it is the same Mr. Granger that said a year ago, 2-3 years ago, that he does not interfere with GCOM. Yet is the same gentleman who unilaterally appointed Patterson to head GCOM. Then after that, he said, I cannot interfere with GCOM. Yet, and my party and my government will not interfere with GCOM. He said those. Yet it is his party who went and brought a case, the Yulita Moore case. Subsequently, he said, GCOM will be the only one to declare. GCOM is the only one that there's 4-step process. And every one of those steps, it is only Mr. Granger's party that start to protract and delay and do everything you can think of to not let those 4 steps be completed. Imagine, 4-step process. Finally, the 3 were finished. Now the number 4 seems to have teeth. Everything possible. Only one side, not the whole world. Only Mr. Granger and his team is raising one problem or the other. And let me address the other point you raised. That is that you would have heard APNU AFC in the convention center, and you heard it yourself, you said, that we're calling out numbers and having problems with the numbers. So, sir, here is what. APNU AFC also said they had no basis for calling out those numbers. They were doing it on hearsay. They called out, in one instance, they called it 130 numbers, right? And said, okay, can you tell me whether these numbers are ticked off or not? Just hear me out here. They call it 130 numbers and say to GCOM, can you tell me whether those numbers are ticked off or not? And they call out and call out and call out and call out. And 4 or 5, GCOM said 4 or 5 were ticked off. The observers then asked GCOM, can we check if they're ticked off indeed? GCOM said, no, nobody can check. So we have a possible, not possible, Jonah said it right. It seems like GCOM itself has been working for one side. Now the rest of the world looking on. I was listening to the audio feed like you were, sir. What I saw was a fishing expedition where persons were just calling out numbers, and the people say, oh yes, 4 of those numbers are ticked off, and then this man who called out 40 numbers said, oh, those 4 we are disputing. Now, they have a right to dispute. When they disputed it, they did not raise up a death certificate. They did not raise any immigration records. No proof was presented. Up to today, there is no proof that those persons were out of the country or that those alleged dead voters voted. Up to today, there is no investigation that has been done by GCOM. And GCOM's chairman herself said, I am not a court, GCOM is not a court, and we cannot arrogate to ourselves the responsibilities of a court to have evidentiary matters brought before us. That is for an election petition. And I'll conclude by saying this, Leonard. Gentlemen, sir, your call is right. I promise, after these declarations are over, I want to look at the evidence myself. Let us go to the court. Let us file an election petition. And if these elections were fraudulently done, let the court vitiate it, let the court vacate, let the court do whatever, and call for fresh elections. But not Lowenfield must decide that. The court has to decide that. And who says that? Not me. The laws of Guyana says so. So this entire shifting of the goalposts, I'm sorry to take so long, Leonard, but it needs explanation, is because some people just don't want to give up power. And Mr. Lowenfield seems to be listening to the voice and the calls of only some, not the entire electorate of Guyana.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Hi, good afternoon to both of you. I'm from a small village in Essequibo called Mashabo, and I'm concerned about the alcohol selling in this village. The people selling the alcohol and the ones that are buying are not sticking to the curfew. I'm concerned about my village because they're selling illegally too. Very, very serious thing. And you have a resident here, Mashabo. If you're listening to us, hello to those good folks there. If you're doing that, and it's in, I think, I'm not sure if it's a reservation, it's a area which is controlled, but residents there are concerned about the selling of alcohol illegally and the non-adherence to the curfew measures. So if the authorities are listening, pay attention. The people there are calling for help. In the Grove New Scheme area that is within the Diamond, there's a recreation facility with a pool. Yesterday, there was a huge gathering. I think I know where this is. This is in the Grove New Scheme area that is within the Diamond area. There's a recreation facility with a pool. Huge gathering. The pool was entirely filled with vehicles and motorcycles. There's a social gathering that began around lunchtime. And after 8 in the night, it was still going on. I think a couple streets away is where the police station is located, Yoga. I think I know the area. Not a police van with an officer came to stop this activity. Sad to say, one guy who was finished off a job with a tin shop at the 2nd Avenue was arrested. Are we serious? The man was doing a work at the 2nd Avenue. He's doing a tin shop, and he was arrested because he breached the curfew measures. And a few streets away, Big Bacchanal. Is that the only that certain people were targeted? The guy that owned the facility is Mark, that owns a biker's bar on the East Bank. Well, let me strike that out. Somebody who owns a biker's bar also owned, had or arranged that bacchanal that was going on at the pool area in Grove there. So I'm not sure how this was allowed to happen, but it's very, very clear, Yog, that our country, in terms of the curfew and in terms of the control mechanisms that should have been in place, the police are out of sync, or they have been given instructions, do not do anything, because the police headquarters is right next to the seawall. Surely, if you're in the Evilary area, you just had to watch across, unless there was no police on duty yesterday at the seawall, and you would have seen that the barbecue grills and the cars with loud music would have been out in full swing. And so, this is very, very serious. People are paying attention. They're saying that it seems as if some people are protected, and a man who's working on a tint or whatever, trying to hustle the other. he's been arrested because he breached the protocols. I think that's how I'm reading it. Um, and so, let me see before I go on to the lines. I see the double standard here during the crime spree. There was a government and there was a lot of crime. Now we have COVID-19 and there's no government and we don't have any killing and drug trafficking. Please explain the difference. The government of Guyana is doing better with COVID-19 than my government in the USA. Interesting point. You got that one, Yog?
Yes.
All right. We go to the lines. There's a caller online. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. I think we lost that one there. So we go back to the interesting messages that we get in today. Um, I do hope that when our new president swear in, that he put these wicked in the big jail and throw away the keys. Good afternoon to you both. This is 4 months now, and we can get a president. Short time, long time done, short time left. There is, let me say to that person there is rules and regulations. There's due process, so everything has to go through, regardless which government in place, has to go through the good procedures that we have. Good day, keep up this good work. We pray for you. Will the Ministry of Education write the parents to inform which school the child is awarded if the child opts out of the common entrance? I'm not sending my child, so please provide any information you may have. Thank you. And thank you, dear, for that person who would have sent us that text, Yog. This week, I think it is on Wednesday. Wednesday is the 1st and the 2nd. And the 1st is when we have a court case. The CCJ, because of elections, 4 months down the line, we have a court case going on, and our students who've been home because of COVID-19 are going to be under severe stress. Some of them wearing masks, or all of them wearing masks, to write the grade 6 exams. Those who are going to write, on behalf of myself and Dr. Yog Mahadeo and the radio, all the staffers of Kaicho Radio and the staffers of Kaicho News, we want to say best of luck to you. To those who are not writing, we understand that you have fears because some of the students, Yog, a lot of parents have been complaining that the kids can't wear the mask. It's a problem. Some of them are asthmatic. And so it will be recalled that the Ministry of Education has made it clear that those who've opted out, you have the options of not writing the exams. You're going to be placed in a school that is closest to you, and then you're going to have a placement test or exams being conducted to see which school might be applicable to you based on your grades. So the first thing I would want to say is to the parents and to the students who are going to write, that's on Wednesday. It's going to be stressful because we have that court case ongoing. It's a place that we should not have been. We should be encouraging our kids at the moment to be strong, to stay. I know what it's like. You remember the days I wrote exams so long back, and it was stressful preparing for that time. And here we have kids who have been working hard and long in preparation for grade 6. And so you have a couple days more. They would have had a couple months off, and they're going to be heading into it, elections stress. Yog?
Yes, one has to feel for our children, and the knee-jerk, instructions and feedback we would get coming out. And let me just remind viewers and listeners that we remain open to accommodate any of the officials from the from the education ministry, education area, whether it's the chief education officer or any of the persons there, because we'd really like to have a discussion where the entire country can hear what they can advise. Because Leonard, while our children will be turning up to school, I'm very concerned, as a lot of people are, about the overcrowding on minibuses, whether and I'm not blaming the minibuses particularly in terms of they got to make ends meet, they got to pay their loans, they got to pay their bills, they got to do everything. But overcrowding in this case doesn't mean overcrowding of the bus. It means, breaching that 6 foot apart or the number of, I think, 7 persons or 6 persons per bus. So what the risk we have is that our children, what else do we have for our future, Leonard, other than our children? And if we put our children at risk, we are really destroying our own future. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that is extremely important, and I would like to think that as a people we can get together. Now, with regards to the person's question, as you rightly say, we don't have the details of it, but we certainly hope to attract the attention of the education persons, officials, to come and share, how the placement happens and to take people's questions and so forth.
Yes, Yog. And so there's somebody, before we go to the lines, is there further update on the GPL procurement matter for almost 600 million? If you missed it, there was a story that emerged, I think last week or the other week, but less than 2 weeks back, of the Guyana Power and Light, the state-owned Guyana Power and Light, making a purchase of 8 trucks, those bucket trucks that they could use to go up on the lines with it, that goes up in the air. They spent almost 600 million, to be exact, $587 million, or to at least that's what the local purchase order says. That local purchase order, which came to the attention of Kaiser News, which reported it, would also indicate that payments were made 10%, then a 30% on arrival, and another 10. Let me see, 60, then 30, or 30, then 60, and there's a remaining 10% after arrival. GPL would have come out and says this is something that was in the making for a little while. In any case, they would have advertised it on their website. They said they placed it in Kaichor News as well as maybe one, two other places. But I think what had people standing up is the amount of money that would have been spent. They tried to explain it, this GPL, by saying that the trucks, it's not only the trucks, but there's that equipment to raise the bucket trucks, those buckets up in the air with the people inside. It's three different set of contractors that had to be engaged. The one that's supplying and the persons who are going to install it. So that one of them, the smaller one, is $63 million, and the other one, the bigger one, for $83 million. So everybody was looking up what. So that we are going to continue to follow that story. There was some question that was posed to GPL. They have not responded. The fact that they spend this kind of money or about to spend it, they said they have not paid anything as yet, would definitely raise the eyebrows, because we would recall on this particular show there have been calls by Yog myself for GPL to see what they could do to reduce the burden on the people of Guyana at this point in time, when a lot of persons, thousands of persons, would have lost a job, told to stay home, take a salary cut in order for business to keep their head above water. One of the measures suggested was to have persons, instead of paying your light bill now, maybe down the line, you push it back a couple months and you give them a little leeway. So this question of spending $600 million now would obviously be up in the air. Yog, over to you,
Well,
maybe.
Leonard, as we had discussed this a while before, if I can just add this. So we had asked, for example, whether the board of directors has a legal ground, whether the board was renewed. We were told, I think by word of mouth, that the board was renewed.
Yes.
But what we also know was that in times of elections and in times like what's happened here, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, GPL is wholly owned by the government of Guyana, and operating by NISIL. And I think NISIL chairs GPL board. I'm not sure if it's NISIL or if it's a member of NISIL, but usually NISIL is the one that has the overarching controlling power over GPL. However, critical in all of this is that GPL can spend, but only on routine expenditure, not capex, not capital expenditure. So we found that them wanting to spend $600 million on a capital expenditure item was extremely worrying. Now, the company has undergone and continues to undergo a number of tests and challenges, and it's finding monies to spend on trucks, not on upgrading its services and another way to provide whatever better services in terms of electricity supplies, but in buying trucks. $300 million also. We need to probably look at the feasibility study. We need to look at what was done, what assessment was done. Are there no private contractor within the country that could have provided an equivalent service to them to defray or to prolong or to divide up that capital expenditure into regular routine expenditure. So there are lots of questions, Leonard. And as days go by and we get more information, we will certainly look at how things were done and what has happened. And certainly, the new government has a lot of questions to ask.
Yes, and they also have a big task ahead of them. It's not going to be easy. We are in a very difficult place at the moment, and that's an understatement. But Yog, there is a statement, talking about statement, there is a statement coming out from one of the biggest Muslim organization of Guyana, Central Islamic Organization of Guyana, and I'm going to read that. The Central Islamic Organization of Guyana calls on the Guyana Elections Commission, the GICOM, to fulfill its constitutionally mandated and declared duty and declare the winner of the 2020 election as soon as the Caribbean Court of Justice has made its ruling. Guyanese citizens have demonstrated admirable restraint and patience while the election process and its results have been subjected to many stages of overview and review prior to verification. After intense scrutiny, the CARICOM Observer Team declared that they were of the unshakable belief, and this is in inverted commas, that the people of Guyana expressed their will at the ballot box on March the 2nd. To the great credit of our nation, the international and CARICOM observers have vouched that Guyana's 2020 election process were free, fair, and credible. The Guyanese people should be proud of this accomplishment, for when democracy wins, everyone wins. Now it is time to honor and respect the will of the people as expressed by the majority of the electorate and at the polls. It is time to move forward and work unitedly for well-being and success of the entire country. CIOG calls on the Guyana Police Force to uphold the rule of law in a responsible manner while simultaneously monitoring and addressing any inflammatory actions in order to serve and protect all Guyanese citizens. And this is coming from Shahabuddin Ahmad, president of the CIOG, Central Islamic Organization of Guyana. This is the biggest Muslim organization in Guyana, to my understanding, Yog.
Yes. And mind you, I think all across the board, I mean, we have had Pastor calling in last week, all
Yes.
across the board, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, everybody, most people, sorry, most persons would have started to speak out. Everybody wants to see an end to this political opportunism that is going on presently. Everybody wants to see this thing behind us, except probably for the small group that wants to delay these elections until God knows when. So yes, I congratulate the CIOG, the GIT, Islamic Trust that is. I think the Seventh-day Adventists made a statement too, and they were attacked viciously by a political opportunist. The Arya Samaj groupings, the Center for Interreligious Dialogue, quite a number of religious organizations have stood out. However, one must bemoan the invisibility. All of a sudden, Transparency International is invisible. Again, a Human Rights Association is invisible. All of a sudden, everybody who used to operate as if they were a voice for Guyana in the past, they are now conveniently silent.
Yes, I thank you for that, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Elections COVID-19 Watch. You could get us on Kaito Radio, YouTube, Facebook. We're right there streaming live at the moment. You could also get us on Kaito News Online. Click the icon there and you could be able to hear Kaito Radio as it is live right now. There's a text coming in here, close. This person is talking about the issue we talked about a little while with a grade 6 student. So if you've opted not to or have a kid not write the exams, the school that you're going to get is not going to, if you live in close to Queen's College or Saints or the big schools, the bishops or so, it might not necessarily be that you're going to get those schools. In fact, you'll be going to be placed one that's close to you, that you could be there at a lower level until you were placed at the high schools. The high schools, if you're eligible, if you would have been gone through an assessment, at least that's what we understand from what the Ministry of Education is saying. They have not really come out except issue statement. We've given them an invitation or wrote them to ask for them to come on and, give us a little more clarity. There's a caller in line. Good afternoon, caller. You're near.
Yeah, good evening, gentlemen. I
Good
have
afternoon.
two points to make. One, with Nagamutu statement, what he says, that a foreigner need to come out from Guyana business. And I want to send a message to Nagamutu. When he had that heart condition, is in United States of America, he went and do that bypass. It's an other man country, he went to do it bypass. His children, them, is different part of this country, of the world, in America, in Canada. Why he do not tell his children then come out from the people in country and come in your own country? We want nothing to do with these people and come in your own country. Why he do not do that?
Let me don't, ma'am. Let me don't go down after the people,
No.
children. We could talk about it. I understand what you're saying, but let us go after the politician.
Yeah, because we have our children too. We want international investment to come in our country. When we sick and the hospital cannot do a surgery or look after we have to go to other country. We need them help.
Right.
You understand? And we don't want them to criticize other people's country, other people who saying the wrong things what they're doing, the thieving things what they're doing, thieving our vote. I have a son. First time my son vote. And when my son listened to all of this what's going on, you know what my son asked me? Mommy, did my vote count? I said, I have to go and be kick low and feel and ask see if he burn my vote or he bury it or he destroy it. My son was first time voter, and my son got to say something like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And before we go on to maybe read you some messages, thank you. I think the lady there has made a very pertinent point, Yog, and I could understand the pain that she's probably feeling. That maybe she sounds very patriotic, but let us ensure that on this program here, especially not to the lady, but to anybody else, let us ensure that we keep our conversation away from people's children. That's one. Let us keep it in a mature manner. We could go after Nagamutu or Ramjatan or an Irfanali or a Bar Jagdeo. Let us do that. We have that right. But it's a difficult thing when you go after the kids. Leave the kids out of it. Good afternoon. My daughter is writing CXA, and it's not easy mentally and emotionally on both her and on us as parents. Anyone who's thinking of our kids' future would want a legitimate president and government as soon as possible. Good afternoon, Yog Gildarie. As a grade 6 teacher, I'm very concerned about how the placement of grade 6 students will be done. Knowing that the Minister of Education and the various ministries do not address the issue publicly, I think students will be definitely disenfranchised while placing pupils to secondary school closest to the homes. Very, very good point. We see also, let me see, how long more do we as business persons will have to endure this pressure? Everyday businesses are on the verge of collapsing, and we are only to stand on what this nonsense continues every day and no relief to the business community. Yog, I would stop here because this is something that you and I spoke about not too long ago. We have people complaining that police are going down closing businesses, and then you have other businesses like Rum Shop where you and I, if you're drinking or if we want to socialize, we right next to each other. No mask, but we drinking, we smoking, we doing whatever it is there. So it boggles the mind that on one side you're killing legit business. I'm not saying the Rum Shop is not legit business. I'm just saying there's not an even-handed way in which we apply. And if we are going to have a relaxation, let's tell the people there's going to be relaxation of the COVID-19 and the curfew measures. Because even going home in the evening, you see many, many vehicles on the road, and you say, excuse me, but is it normal times? Because that's what it feels like. That's what it looks like. So I understand what this person is saying. I understand the pain. You have a business and you see your neighbor down the next village is opening, and you have the same kind of business and you can't open because the police come in and harass you. It's happening down in Georgetown. It's happening if you come out of Georgetown, you see the same kind of business are being open and nobody's saying anything. The Chinese supermarkets are open as normal. I'm not saying this because it's Chinese. I'm just saying that they have the supermarkets. So let us get it right. I feel for that person who would have been saying that he's feeling it. Businesses are on the verge of collapsing. It's something we have to live with. Yog, maybe some comments. I think we lost Yog there for a little while.
No, I'm here. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, Leonard, you're right. How much more can we say about it all? The COVID-19 situation, as I said, and especially with regard to our children and education and so forth, it's all a running commentary. But I added to remind everyone, like it pained me to read what that mother wrote, which is true. I mean, it's a testing time for us at home when our children have to prepare for exams. It's to read what the teacher has written, for example, as well, Leonard. It's a testing time for everyone. And look, all the teachers, they want to know that the children who were under their watch did well. Every teacher would want to ensure that their children that would have been under their classroom, under their watch, would pass the exams. Every parent wants to be proud of the children. But there's nothing you and I could promise. There's nothing we can do other than to repeat a call to the authorities. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, the officials within the education department and so forth, they continue to function. And they ought to continue to function notwithstanding the politics, except, of course, if they were on the campaign trail themselves. Leonard, there's another one. Tika Singh would have written to say, good afternoon. The government supporters defending that CEO of GCOM has the authority to adjust the count unilaterally. What is your take on this, taking into consideration the authority or the power of the CEO, especially within the CEO's power of a corporation?
Mm-hmm.
So I can just comment very quickly on that. To Tika, yes, any CEO has a right to apply the rules, the regulations, the laws of the company. But the CEO does not have a right to have a personal opinion of what the regulation or the law means. It has to be according to standards and practice. It has to be according to legal advice. It has to be taken in consideration what the people who wrote these regulations and laws had in mind when they created such a section.
Mm-hmm.
So Lowenfield cannot himself decide what is a valid vote or what is not a valid vote. Let me tell you very quickly. You know what Lowenfield did, Leonard? Lowenfield decided that, okay, because APNU AFC said 5 votes mustn't count, thank you, APNU AFC, we will not count the 5 votes. What he has done, he has basically just listened to one side and say, I'm going to throw away the entire box, or I'm going to throw away that, and I'm going to burn away that, and I'm going to burn away the other. He did not allow for an investigation. He has no power to conduct an investigation. And so he did not make any educated decision. What he has made is a political decision.
Yes, Yoga. And so there is a statement that is coming up, and this is an interesting one for you, Yoga. The Ethnic Relations Commission. There would have been a lot of talks about the organization coming out and doing what it is, especially with some of the very insightful statements being made by some representatives of the various political parties and so on. The Ethnic Relations Commission has come out now and it says they undeniably supports an articulate and free press which contribute to the good tenets of a democratic nation. It embraces the right to criticize people, persons in public office. I like that. However, that freedom of expression is not an unfettered right. It should not be exercised with a level of disparagement. It should not be exercised with a level of disparagement which exceeds criticizing the conduct of those in public office and amongst a statement grounded in absolute falsehoods. The Commission takes umbrage in individuals making libelous statements in the personal bid to generate confusion in the interplay of politics and against the goodwill of the Commission. Mr. Lennox Schumann on the 25th of June 2020 during a live Facebook stream of the Kaichor News Radio made damning imputations of corruption by the chairman of the Ethnic Relations Commission and by extension, you remember this, Yog? Schumann was here, yes. and by extension the commission in its entirety. Its utterances have been reposted via media, social media several times, and have exposed the ERC to hatred, contempt, and ridicule. Such an attack against the commission is defamatory in nature. Any reasonable person hearing the words uttered by Schuman would come to the conclusion that his proclamations have brought the integrity of the commissioner into disrepute. The commission, the statements is directed towards the commission are not only an untruth, but it's a type of sensationalism which, during this tense election period, has had damaging repercussions against the execution of the constitutional mandate of the commission. The commission assures the public that it takes pride in operating in the interests of what is just and fair, and it's a reflection of safeguarding the concerns of all Guyanese. Its standard operating procedures exemplify impartiality and transparency. I'll leave it at that. Yog, your comments?
I can't remember Schumann's comment. Was it ethnically charged? Was it the man expressing an opinion about the commission, or was he making an ethnically charged statement? I think sometimes people in a rush to defend the seats that they sit in, they say certain things, but I don't think it's worthwhile.
But this is very, very easy. This Radio Yog 99.1, 99.5, which we are belong to the people of Guyana. It doesn't belong to us. We're just custodians. We're just facilitators. I'm going to extend an invitation to the commissioner, the commissioners, to the chairperson of the Ethnic Relations Commission. There are many things that we would want to talk about, how they're dealing with it, what are they're looking at. Is there any other person other than Kaiju News maybe that they're looking at? What are some of the complaints that they've been receiving? How are they dealing with it? Is there a charge to these things here? Have they pulled anybody in other than maybe Michael Rodriguez, aka Guyanese Critic, to talk about charge statements, among other things? So we're going to extend an invitation, maybe one of these nights, room 592, Yog. Very, very important.
Absolutely.
They are a commission,
Absolutely.
and let us do it because we want to hear. We want to hear from our people out there. I think some, maybe because of how this entire thing is going, people are very careful, but let us be very, very clear about one thing, Yog, is that we have authorities in Guyana, commissions that has wide-ranging powers. They could strike you up, they could cause a lot of stuff to happen. But one thing that should not be said is that you're not doing your job. So we want to ensure that they understand that they are doing the job, that it's being done in a very even-handed manner. And of course, we want our friends there at the Ethnic Relations Commission to expound a little more. Maybe if it is that during that program that Mr. Schuman is saying should be investigated, if it is that we allowed it to slip through, it should be investigated. If it is that there are other programs in which it is continuing to happen, did they do anything on Facebook with some of those comments that we've seen? Some very, very worrying statements and accusations racially charged that would be made, and has any attempts been made to rein those people in, to bring them in, to have them give an explanation, maybe an apology for what would have transpired, because it brings untold hurt, deep divisions within our society. So, Yog, that is what I'm going to say to that. I'm going to make contact with them to see whether we could get them on. So,
correct.
Any comments before you go to the lines?
Well, no, I mean, I think let's look at the statement, and indeed let's invite the ERC in to come and discuss with them. You discuss with us. You remember we did, whether it was on this forum or another one, we did have a discussion, open discussion with members of the ERC, and I believe that the ERC's mandate may be sometimes misrepresented, and that would be something I'm interested in looking at.
And it is good, Yog, that we have this kind of conversation, that Yog and Gildarie and Kaito Radio are not above the fray. that if we do something wrong, we're going to be the first to admit it if it is that we went overboard. But not only
Absolutely.
that, I think here's a perfect opportunity too for our regulators, whether you were the Public Utilities Commission, the Ethnic Relations Commission, the Public Procurement Commission. All those are very powerful organizations that in any other countries, let's say for example, United States, you have the Gaming Commission. That if before you set up a casino in a particular area, you got to go before them, and these people are so powerful that they have some wide-ranging powers. Could even check into your background. You have to prove to them a whole bunch of stuff.
Of course.
You have to jump through a lot of hoops before you could finally, tell them. So these
But
organizations,
Leonard,
right?
but Leonard, to get something in perspective, indeed, I would want to say this, that if people like you and I, anybody who is on public forum and we make any statement, sometimes you say things in error,
Hmm.
sometimes you say things as a reaction to something else, and it's taken out of context. Sometimes people make purposeful and purposive statements. So I would say anybody who makes insightful and biased statements that is proven to be mischievous and wrong, be a man and apologize for it, and let's move on. However, it does not and it should never be interpreted as that the organizations themselves, be it ERC, be it the National Assembly, be it whatever organization, every organization in Guyana, the Guyanese people have a right to assess, to evaluate as to their functionality, as to their state of being of the absolute unbiased state or a biased state, and to have an opinion. An opinion is everybody's right.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, if you do make derogatory statements, then that is something else, and the ERC or any organization has an opportunity to ventilate, as you do, about them.
Yes, and I do thank you. And having said that, I want to apologize to my people down in the studio here, Kevin and Raj, for things that I may say in the coming years, in the coming months, and to you, my brother Yog. And if I've hurt anybody, I didn't mean it at that point in time. I really did believe that I meant it. But in anticipation of that, I'm going to apologize in advance. So there's a caller online. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
A pleasant good afternoon to you, Leonard, and Brother Yo. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon, ma'am.
I would like to say, I have 2 points. First, I would like to say that you lead by the head. And if the head is polluted, what do you expect from the tributaries? Now, we have been witnessing the present government leaders. They are so vulgar. They're cussing from top to bottom. The international people, the local, they're out there protesting and their behavior. That is the people that we want to rule us and lead us. No, that is wrong. As a parent of a head of a household, if you do not set the example in the house, you don't expect the children to follow suit. They would want to do their own thing. This society has become so lawless. You're seeing a minister going and beat up on a protester in Kingston. You see a minister fighting down at a rigged election consultation. You see a minister sit down in Parliament and tell you about boom out and go and telling the chairman of elections by her full name, get it right enough. That is so disrespectful. What example are you setting for our children and our future leaders? Right? You have to lead. Mr. Granger is saying so much. Oh, I'm waiting on the law. I'm waiting on the court decision. I'm waiting on GCOM. And all these things come into place, and he's not obeying. He is so disrespectful and lawless. He's bringing our society to lawlessness. Then when the new administration go in, they cannot correct all these mistakes at once, right? They would be cussed down again, and they would be, and it would be a hard task for them to correct. okay, you feel dissatisfied, you're going to the court. Why you have to be protesting and cussing and all manner of things? You're not obeying the court rule. You went to the highest court in in the Caribbean, and you're not obeying. Look how long he was told he had to call an election. If it was the other side, it would have been burned down and cussed down. No, look how respectable this present government is. The government that's supposed to be in transition, behaving so decent, so sober, so decent. What is leadership? They show us leadership. They tell us every time. You and Brother Yog is there to tell us, stay calm, stay quiet, be sober, don't do this, don't do that, don't do nothing. No, I'm saying to you, why you think they're not concentrating on COVID-19? They're concentrating on the political battle, which they can't win. A battle, a losing battle they're fighting, right? And being so disrespectful to our people. You know, I've been to Trinidad and Barbados and said, you know what they asked me? Is your country then used to get milk and y'all used to have to go and buy milk from the country and bring it in suitcase? That's years ago, right? And y'all poor and y'all are no but potato and split peas and all that. You know, how could you defend yourself when now technology is exposed and see how our leaders, what they got to tell you, we can't count, we can't understand, right? So, and I must compliment y'all, thank you. But when we get the new administration, we have to help them to bring all these wrongs to right, because it can't happen overnight. We ain't got no money, we ain't got no discipline. We have to ask the police force, we have to ask the army, all of them to come together. And let's work for the better, for a decent Guyana. I'm ashamed of my country. So ashamed. I'm hurt. I don't even think about going to Tamari to decide when the reopening to go on a trip. I'm so ashamed, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear caller. And Yog, one of the conversations that we would have to have with maybe room 592 is the duties or the priorities of a new administration under a new president. What are some of the things that they have to tackle right away? I think in my mind, one of them would have to be going after this divisive, this fear-mongering, healing our nation, social cohesion. To me, I mean, we could deal with the issues of the economy and the oil and everything else, but for too long, we'd have to look at who've been fostering, who've been pushing, who've been throwing the gas into the fire. We'd have to start looking at that and how not to have a repeat of it in the coming years.
Yes, I agree with you, Leonard. And but Leonard, how are we ever going to heal what our last caller said? How long will it take for us to ever go through any airports again without the workers there laughing at us that y'all can't read, you don't know English, you don't know math? How many years are us and our children going to be living through being the laughing stock of the world, with the only country where an election has lasted how much? 115 days. How are we ever going to live this down? Knowing that your own president says one thing and does the other. Leonard, I don't know. I mean, yes, we can have an attempt at healing, but this misery, this shame that we have presently, I don't know how we're going to ever live it down. And can you imagine, Leonard, when your child or any of your children and any of my children or any one of our children, when they become educated and they go and they travel the world and they try to get a job somewhere in one of these top firms, and they have to tell the interviewer we are from Guyana. I feel bad about those things, and those things really eat us up on the inside, Leonard. We will get over this, certainly. There'll be a president sworn in, certainly. But this shame will last lifetimes to come.
And and on that note, Yog, I've been paying very close attention over the years, and it used to raise my anger when we would have heard stories, read stories, probably even experienced it when you go to airport, Trinidad, and we have lots of Trinidadians here. Good people, good friends of mine. I like the doubles. I like going to Trinidad. But when they would have put our citizens onto the benches when we sit in there, we would have gone to Barbados, same thing. Antigua, same thing. Because they viewed us as an intended immigrant into their country. But you should have seen the indiscretions that were meted out to our people. A couple years back, I think after we discovered oil, there was a change in the way that people viewed us. I think it was a big improvement. People viewed us with respect. They start talking to us a little different. We see people coming to Guyana. They want to come to Guyana to work. The Venezuelans start coming because maybe of necessity, among other things. A lot of Cubans want to come here. Other countries, our Guyanese people are coming back. It's all been cleared. It's all been reversed in one fell swoop, and that is elections 2020. And that is something that has really, really hurt. It has really put us in a situation where how do you correct that? How do we fix the pieces that have been broken because of elections 2020? It's not only the ethnic divide, which I think is just for a few who've been fomenting, who've been pushing the or throwing the gas into the fire, but it's also been a couple of persons who have been taking advantage of that. So it is something that we continuously have to pay attention to. And before we go to the lines, there's somebody here. So glad to see the CIOG statement as a supporter of CIOG from Canada. I felt it was important to contact them with a statement. Hopefully people are reading our letters and listening to our phone calls. Everybody needs to keep the pressure for fairness and justice. Excellent job, my brothers. Keep the good job. And that is coming all the way from Canada. There's a 52. There is 52 cards in the pack. The two jokers is Ali, and the next one is Danger. Well, I think he's meaning Granger. But he's viewing both of them as the two jokers, and that's a different take on things. Let me see. First of all, this is coming from another one on our WhatsApp 6222222. Firstly, don't you ever stop doing what you're doing. Continue to educate our brothers and sisters. Out of curiosity, is this a trend? Deny losing and attempt rigging, ignore court rulings, suppress the nation, disregard the rule of law, delay. I think we get the picture. It works out of a lobby form. I sincerely believe that no matter whom or which group comes out in the open to concede, it will have zero effect. Stay safe, be careful, and God bless you both. So there's a caller online there, Kevin. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Yes.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon, caller. You're on the air. Kaicho Radio.
Yeah, Kaiser Ridge. I'm on to yoga and
Gildarie. Yes, go ahead.
yeah. I'm actually living in the U.S., so I gotta get a number actually. I've been listening to your program from time to time. I got yoga and what is it?
Gildarie, Leonard.
Yeah. Anyway, it's something that I want you guys to be doing as we can hear like this. So keep reminding the PPP that when they get into office, you remember the promises you make, and remind them of the path of what they do. Don't give them a free pass. Don't ever do it.
Very
because
true.
The rest of 45% of Guyana wouldn't be comfortable with this. You guys got to play fair. To me, that's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I just want you guys. You're doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. You guys are doing a great job. But it's just I need you guys to keep reminding the PPP what you did in the past. They don't expect you to do this time around. If you do that, the rest of Guyana would be comfortable with that. to know that you're playing fair. You understand?
Yes.
Correct.
So I hope that we could, we all could work together. I never got a chance to vote in Guyana. I've never got a Guyana agent. But, I was very excited wanted to vote this year, but because of the pandemic, I didn't get a chance to come back to Guyana. But, you guys keep up the good work, though.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a pleasant day. So I want to say good day to all from Canada, from the USA. You have somebody from Ireland, from New Zealand also tuned in at this program. They're from all over. People want to hear what is happening down in their own homeland. So with regards to the caller there, before I hand it over to Dr. Yog, I want to say to you what we've been saying all along. It's going to be, I think, any government that goes in there, they're not going to get it easy. There are two reasons for that, two big reasons. One, we are going through a very difficult times in terms of the economy and COVID-19. But the second thing is there's an intolerant Guyana at the moment. People are very, very hurt and very upset about this elections 2020. They're going to be very unforgiving to any government that comes into place. So we, as a newspaper here, as a radio station, we have not stopped doing what we have been doing for the last decade or so. It was the crime wave between the 2002, 2007, 8, around that period there. We have shifted our focus on the way that our monies are being spent, about the resources that we have in Guyana. We haven't stopped it. We have not stopped it against the PPP. In fact, our criticisms against the PPPC was through the roof in terms of the number of projects that we were looking at, in terms of the multi-million dollar projects, the road projects, the Milo Falls, the Marriott, the Berbice Bridge, you name it, and we were after it. Coming down between the 2015 to the 2020, that has not changed. We start looking at the oil, we start looking at the gold fields, we start looking at all those kind of places that would have been normally in any circumstance been under our direction. So it is not going to change if there's a new government, and there will be a new government, regardless who is in power, that we will continue. Our scrutiny is going to be a very, very short honeymoon period, maybe a month or so, and we're going to hit the ground running because we need answers, we need solutions, we need for the people to be kept in loop as to how our monies are being spent, who are getting what contracts, and how the poor people in Guyana, how they benefit. And Yog?
Yes, Leonard. You are right, and I take that caller's point, and one of the things I want to respond to that caller is, sir, I respect your views, and you're absolutely right that there are persons in any country that has to continue, and I certainly hope we can as well, continue to be very open in their discussion of governance and government. And one of the things we know, I feel proud of this, Leonard. One of the things that I'm hoping that we have achieved, and I know we have achieved with this program we have started here months ago, is that Guyanese people are empowered, and they know that they're empowered to speak up and speak out. And for sure, in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead, our people are going to continue to speak up and speak out, Leonard. No two ways about it. The media has set, some of the media has set the right pace. To that point, I want to just quickly mention this, Leonard, to remind viewers and listeners. Viewers and listeners, every newspaper has what is called an editorial. An editorial, even if you don't want to read the entire editorial, read a paragraph or two, and especially the conclusion of those editorials. An editorial tells you what the editor who runs the newspaper stands for. It's like almost a newspaper-based message, not a subscriber or a contributor or a columnist message. And it is important that I mention that, Leonard, because if you check Kaiser News editorial, check it yesterday or today or any day. You look at Stabroek News's editorial. And now let us look at the Guyana Rags editorial. And for viewers and listeners who wish to be reminded, The Guyana Rag is also known as the Guyana Chronicle. The Guyana Rag editorial is filled with, guess what? Attack, attack, attack. In their editorial of Guyana Rag on June 29th, which is today, they spend an entire editorial, which is their policy, attacking CARICOM. Now, mind you, Chronicle is not APNU mouthpiece. It is not the PNC's mouthpiece. The Guyana Chronicle is a state-owned paper that you, taxpayers, you and I, we are paying for the upkeep of the Guyana Chronicle. Yet the Guyana Chronicle could go without the permission of the people of this country to go and attack our neighbors. And Leonard, this is a serious indictment. It is criminal. It is criminal to use a state asset against the will of the people to attack our neighbors. And this is what the Guyana Rag has done. Using taxpayers' money to attack our neighbors, to attack our allies, to attack our friends. You know what? This speaks to the low level that the APNU AFC has sunk to, that they're using all of state assets. We are seeing they're using state vehicles to go about and sharing pamphlets. And Leonard, my brother, I don't know if you saw one of those pamphlets. Did you get to see it?
No.
Well, let me tell you, they shared a pamphlet in which they said, mind you, they didn't take a hamper, they didn't take a mask, they didn't give anybody anything. They gave them pamphlets. And you know what the pamphlets have? Some numbers. And they have column 1 and column 2 in total. And Leonard, none of the rows can add up. They have a serious problem with math. Even the pamphlet that they shared has incorrect math. Now, who you think produced the pamphlet? Look at the paper it is printed on. Leonard, it is newsprint. And these are the type of investigations we need to have. Where is being printed, whose money is being used to print it, and that is the rape of state assets, taxpayers' money that we are seeing continuing each and every day. And that shows how this government has zero respect for the people who they're supposed to serve.
Mm-hmm. So I thank you for that. If you're now joining us, and that's worrisome, because anytime that you find state assets being diverted into other places that it's not supposed to be going, then the normal man in the street is not benefiting. Elections COVID-19 watch here. You're watching that with myself, Leonard Gildarie, and Dr. Yog Mahadeo. We've been on this for almost 120 days now. It's 119 days since
119.
Yes, 119 days since the March 2nd elections. And what are we looking forward to in news this week? Within 2 days, we are going to see the Caribbean Court of Justice hear oral arguments into the appeal of the decision that was handed down, the majority decision that was handed down by the Court of Appeal in Kingston last week. And so that is happening this week here on Wednesday. Tomorrow there's another very important case, which is a hearing on jurisdiction. The procedures, they're starting that at the International Court of Justice in The Hague. And they're going to be talking about our border, the controversy with Venezuela. Venezuela wants a big part of the Essequibo as well as the waters where we have oil being drilled by or being produced by the ExxonMobil at the moment. So that's going to happen tomorrow. Also, if you look at the front page of Kaichur News today, June the 29th, Harmon says Granger will not concede. Granger yet to comment, and then today also I would have been telling you about something that has really upset me, which I'm going to be raising with management. Dr. Yog Mahadeo, who's been one half of the elections watcher almost for the last 3 months, has come under a very serious threat over the weekend. It has not been new, but he's decided to take it very seriously this time because of the nature of it. I think he's taken some actions, and we will at the newspaper as well. We take it very seriously when media persons when people who are associated with us and anything to do with the fourth estate, the media world, comes under attack. It is nothing new. Kaiser News has gone through it over the years. We lost 5 pressmen because of the work that we do. Nothing is going to change with that. I can tell you that. That's my instructions, as I'm aware from Glenn Lal, the publisher, owner of Kaiser News and Kaiser Radio. So we're going to act on that. My brother, I have your back, and rest assured that we are not taking this lightly, and it is a very serious thing, and your family is my family. COVID-19, there's a public assistance. We have it up on screen here. If you want to know about cases, whether you've made an application for public assistance has been asked for by the authorities, there are the numbers on the screen. You could check it out. Also, we're going to try to put it in the Kaiser newspaper tomorrow. I'm going to ask them. President David Granger this evening is going to be on another radio program. He
But
has
you,
been
you
there for the
shouldn't
third.
you
I
shouldn't
have to
even
Yog. I
advertise
have
it.
to. Yes, I have to Yog because people want to know why they're not coming to Kaiser or any other or hold a press conference. But he has sought to make a special appearance for the third time running at another radio station. Not that we want him to appear here, but the fact is he's not holding a press conference. So we are going to say that. And then GCOM chair, Justice Retired Claudette Singh, has made no submissions for the Caribbean Court of Justice case on Wednesday. She's going to use her arguments that she's placed before, which has basically asking for the matter to be thrown out. I think that is my understanding of what she's basically saying, Yog.
Yes, yes.
Right.
What she's saying is that she does not remember whatever the court decide, GCOM will be bound to it and by it. So she doesn't have to. She has nothing to say to the court at this stage because it's an appeal of what happened before. So it's nothing to read too much into.
Yes. And so there's a comment or a couple of comments here. Good afternoon. My daughter's right in CXC, and it's not easy mentally and emotionally on both her and us as parents. Anyone who's thinking that our kids' future will want a legitimate president and government as soon as possible. I totally agree with the last comment. Don't stop doing what you do because sometimes hearing all sorts of views, it will get to me. But this program really do help to bring out the peace of mind. Thank you to both. Very good encouraging word. Doc, sorry don't have no end. That will be the case for the border dispute. There's a call online. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, caller. You on the air?
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
I must begin by saying that I'm always sad and sorry to hear people being threatened and people acting on threats to people who stand up for what is right. I was upset all the time this happened to Mr. Kissoon, and I'm upset to hear the threats are getting more serious against Mr. Yog, and I'm sorry to hear about that. And I hope that it just remains threats and nothing else happens. I also want to make a point that don't take anything Mr. Harman says for meaning was as what Mr. Granger says. One, to not concede doesn't mean to not accept the decision of the chairman. When it comes to COVID-19, and we can blame everybody, the political task force, we can blame the non-enforcement of the police. But one of the things that all comes down to is that we as a people has demonstrated in all aspects of our lives in this country, whether we agree or not, that we are lawless and we do not adhere to what is right, and we tend to lean to what is wrong. And even in a time when something like COVID-19 make AIDS look like a little boy, make any other sick that you ever hear about look like a little boy, people are taking it light. And so while we can blame the leaders, as a people, we ourselves are not taking our lives seriously. Similarly, it goes over into politics. The power that politicians have is we give them. We allow them to run roughshod over us, and you can see it. GCOM has exposed it, and that's not GCOM. It's in the courts. It's in every aspect. Politicians control almost every aspect of power and authority in this country and decision-making. And that is who we, the people, has done that. We have given it. And if we ever want to change, we don't need to look to politicians to change. We need to change and understand that we have to stand for what's right. regardless of what somebody else said or did, what is right is right. I may not like how Gildarie look. I may not like how Gildarie talk, but if he's right, he's right. And when he's wrong, he's wrong. And when we stand like that, then every politician will understand that they have to come and lead rightly. We have missed that in this country. There's nothing to celebrate of 54 years of this country as a lawful country. We have made so many mistakes in our 54 years, from politics to the people, police, courts, GCOM, every aspect. If whoever's in power feel that power is for their people or their friends or their cabal, and we miss that boat. I pray and I hope as a nation that we can wake up and understand that this is not the way to go. Standing on the